Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Evercade A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of the games on Blaze's Evercade retro gaming system. Today we're looking at a game called Solaris. This was a 1986 release from Atari, developed by Doug Neubauer, if that's how you pronounce his name properly, I've been quite sure. The original creator of Star Raiders anyway. Solaris is a sequel to Star Raiders that is actually different from the game that became known as Star Raiders 2 on Atari home computers. Although interestingly enough, like the computer game, Solaris was also originally intended to be an adaptation of the last Starfighter movie. But Jack Tramiel's shenanigans in 1984, where he purchased the company and laid off almost everyone while restructuring, kind of put paid to those plans. But Solaris did eventually find its way to market a couple of years later, after a somewhat battle-scarred Atari in 1986 decided to start releasing games for the Atari 2600, its previous cash cow, once again. So Solaris isn't super well known because it is a fairly late era Atari 2600 game, but everyone who plays it kind of regards it as one of the greatest games the 2600 has ever put out, and I would probably agree with that. So let's go play Solaris. Okay, here we are with Solaris, a game that I and many other people would say is the crown jewel of the Atari 2600's library. This is a fantastic game, but it came out so late in the Atari 2600's lifespan that I'm not surprised a lot of people aren't familiar with it. I'd never heard of it until relatively recently, but I was fascinated to sort of read how it came about and the fact that it was a sequel to Star Raiders, that is one of my favourite games of all time. And that sort of thing. And yeah, when I came to play it, I was just so impressed with what it offered. So let's have a go. So your goal in Solaris is to find the planet Solaris before the evil Xylons, who absolutely are not Cylons, do. So you do that by warping from square to square on the galaxy map, taking out fleets of enemies in third-person quasi-3D space combat, and exploring the galaxy. Oops. Just crash into a planet. Yeah, so you make your way around this map. You can kind of approach it how you want to, really. Enemy fleets will block your path, so if you want to go past them, you will have to destroy them first. So we're heading off in this direction, sort of to the east of the map, I guess you'd call it, for want of a better term. Oops. Direct collision costs me a life. So yeah, I have more than one life in this, unlike in Star Raiders. And you can get extra lives as well. Right. I'm now going to head to this square over here. I'm the X moving around the map, if you hadn't figured it out. I'm going to head to this square here, which is a minefield. But it's also next to an exit from this sector. So if I can safely make it through this minefield, I can proceed on to the next sector and continue my explorations. So you can shoot or avoid the mines, and there's usually a Xylon waiting at the far end for you as well. Okay, and here we are in the next sector. So, you see this is actually a dead end. You see I'm surrounded by asteroid fields. You can't go through those. You can't destroy them or anything like that. But there is this planet here. This is a Xylon planet. So if I warp there, I can descend to this planet. And what I want to do while I'm here is two things, really. I want to destroy the Xylons
And I also want to collect any humans that were there. And as it happens, there was only one human there, so once I've rescued him, the planet then explodes. I get 8,000 points and an extra life, and then I can go on my way, which is lovely. So sort of using that as a means of resupplying yourself is really important in this game. Right, so now let's go a different way. Let's try going south. So if I want to go south off this map, I have to warp to this sector that is next to the exit, and then when I arrive there, I'll be in the new sector. Now you'll notice when I warp somewhere that the ship will start flickering every so often. Now what you want to try and do is move left and right to try and keep your ship in focus, because that will save you some fuel. So the further out of focus that your ship is when you go through hyperspace like that, the more fuel you will lose. So, and fuel becomes increasingly important the further into the game you go, because the closer you get to Solaris, the fewer and fewer opportunities to refuel there are. So you really need to make the most of that. Stock up on extra lives, stock up on fuel when you can, and try not to waste it as much as possible. Okay, this asterisk-shaped thing here, this is a friendly planet, so we want to get rid of any Xylons that are threatening it, because if they capture a friendly planet, then the sector you're in becomes a red zone. And at that point, not only do all the space sequences start having this absolutely terrifying kind of lightning storm in the background, but they also reverse your controls, which is very unpleasant. Oh, they're kicking the shit out of me today. So, those red bullets that the the Xylon base stars, I'm going to call them, because that's what they are, let's face it. They actually just drain your fuel rather than destroying you directly. It's only if you actually collide with a ship directly that you'll be immediately destroyed. There are also some ships out there that will actually fire things that will destroy you at you, and stuff like mines will also destroy you. So like the things that these Cobra ships fire will destroy you, and I'm dead. Now, let's have another go, shall we? Try not to suck so much. I really like those planet-side sequences. They really remind me of Sega's Buck Rogers game, Planet of Zoom, which was available on Atari 5200 and Atari 8-bit. That's a really fun game, actually, that one. Supposedly based on an arcade game, but I've never seen the arcade game in action. Come here. Gotcha. Oh, there's another one. There we go. Nicely done. And only half of my stock of fuel lost. Right, let's deal with these guys. So you see there's several different types of enemies, and they all behave slightly differently. So the base star type things, they shoot the fuel draining things at you. The pink things will sort of move erratically. The Cobra ships that killed me last time around, those are probably the most dangerous things out there. And then the sort of TIE fighter shaped things that aren't a huge threat as well. So there's plenty of variety to this game, which I really like. Okay, this is a friendly planet. So while I'm here, I can say hello to the people who live here. And if I look at my scanner down at the bottom, that will tell me where the nearest docking bay to get some fuel back is. Right. Shall I... No, I'm not going to bother going to get that extra life for now, because we don't really need it at the minute. I will go and attack this fleet, though. So I really like this game as a 2600 title because it's a convincing follow-up to Star Raiders, but it also really plays to the platform's strengths. So if you're not familiar with the Atari 2600 version of Star Raiders, because Star Raiders was originally a computer game for the Atari 8-bit computers, in fact for many people it's regarded as the Atari 8-bit killer app, because it was such a complex game designed to be a bit more of a simulation of space combat rather than a really arcadey game, it had a lot of keyboard controls. And the Atari 2600 only has a single button joystick. So what happened with Star Raiders on the 2600 is that they released one of their many keypad style controllers for Star Raiders. In this case it was called the Video Touchpad and was bundled with Star Raiders. And essential functions like changing your throttle and raising and lowering your shields and turning on and off your targeting computer and that sort of thing, they were all done on the Video Touchpad. So that meant you had to control your ship with your joystick, but you also had to have this other accessory plugged in order to be able to make use of all the functionality. Which in some ways was kind of cool, but in other ways was a bit impractical. And so what we've got with this here in Solaris, is we've got a game that does a lot of the same things as Star Raiders, but it plays perfectly fine with a single button controller. So it's ditched a lot of the simulation elements that didn't necessarily add much to the gameplay on the 2600 and made a game much more specifically built for Atari 2600 that works very well on the platform. Right, we're a bit low on fuel, so let's land and sort that out. Ah, sweet relief. And onward, if you please. Right, this marker down here, this is a corridor. This is similar to the Xylon planets in that it's an enemy installation that you're supposed to destroy. But it works a little bit differently, as you'll see in just a moment. So you start by attacking a planet surface, as before. This time you have these sort of eye-shaped turrets on the surface to destroy. You can shoot a load of these to get some nice points. And then you have another gateway to fly down like this. And then you have, oh my god, trench run! Oops. And what you're supposed to do in that trench run, which I failed to do there, is when you get to one of those force field barriers, there's a key in front of it. And you have to grab the key and that will unlock the force field. Or you can just crash through the force field and lose a life. Because that's fun too. Right, into a new sector. Now, there's a cheeky little puzzle. I don't know if it's a puzzle, but a trap, I guess you'd call it, in this one. If you end up in the right-hand side of the screen there, on the other side of this planet, you can't get out without destroying the planet, which will turn this zone into a red zone, which will make your life a lot more difficult. So it's much safer to just not go into that corner at all. You still need to defend the planet because there are still some Xylons there who are threatening it. And in fact, that signal there indicates that the planet is under attack. So you see that symbol is now flickering. That shows that the planet is under attack. And we need to save them. So when this happens, you have a very limited amount of time to destroy a certain number of enemies on the planet's surface. Otherwise the planet will be destroyed. And the sector will become a red zone. And nobody wants that. I might be taking things a little bit too leisurely here. Oh, I missed one. Bollocks. Oh, it's too late. Now my controls are reversed. Oh no. And you see, for the entire time you're in space now, you now have to deal with it being red and lightning-y and your controls being backwards. And it's all horrible and terrible. Oh no, and now my scanner's been knocked out. My controls are backwards and I don't like it. And I'm dead. But hey, at least that repaired my scanner and replenished my fuel. So I can't complain too much. Oh god. Right, let's... bloody serpents in the way. Let's try and get out of here. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Oh god. Safe. Safe. Oh, retreat. That's so unpleasant. So unpleasant being in a red zone. Right, we've got a minefield and we've got a place to go and refuel. So that seems like a sensible thing to do. Oh no! I am dead. Anyway, you get the idea. That is how Solaris works. Basically, you have to find your way through that entire galaxy map, which I think is a 4x4 grid altogether. So it's not huge. But the interesting stuff comes in how the different parts of each of the sectors connect together and how you find your way around obstacles and that sort of thing. So there's actually quite a convoluted route you have to take in order to finally get to Solaris. Might not be 4x4 actually, might be a little bit bigger than that. Maybe 5x5 or 6x6. It's certainly not huge. I think there's only like 16 sectors to be 4x4, wouldn't it? I can't remember. Like I say, it's not dauntingly huge, and it wraps round on itself though, so it does seem a little bit bigger than it actually is. But you can map it out, you can figure it out for yourself, you can plot a route to Solaris, or you can just explore the galaxy and try and score as many points as possible. So it's really nice that you can play that game however you see fit and whatever you're in the mood for at the time. But there is an end goal to this, unlike a lot of Atari 2600 games. There is a way to finish it. It is quite difficult to do. I've never managed it yet, but it is possible. It is possible. But I think we'll leave that there for today. This is definitely an absolute highlight of the Atari Collection 2 cartridge for Evercade, and definitely a highlight of the Atari 2600 library if you've never come across it before. And I hadn't. I'd not encountered this before the Evercade, in fact, because this is not a game that tends to get included in a lot of those Atari Flashback Classics collections that I've covered on Atari A to Z Flashback and sort of previous incarnations of that on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox 360 and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I'd not come across this before, but I tried it for the first time and I was blown away by sort of how complex a game it was, but how accessible it remains by making use of the single button controller and just making really creative use of the Atari 2600's capabilities and limitations to provide a really compelling, enjoyable space adventure. So yeah, a definite highlight of the Evercade launch lineup. One of many. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.